Ladakh used to be part of Tibet, now part of India. So this is my, background. So since today, so we will have a class on Tuesday and Saturday, twice a week. So why it is so important to study not than just meditation? So usually the Chinese Buddhism flourished from India, particularly from Nalanda tradition, Nalanda University, as well as the Tibetan Buddhism also flourished from Nalanda University. But the Chinese master, I forgot his name, I think Yonten, when he came to Nalanda University, at that moment there were more than 20,000 monks as well as nuns. According to Nalanda tradition, it is so important to study before we practice. For example, very simple job. We want to make a cake. We have to learn from someone. Without any idea, any knowledge, we cannot make a good cake. A simple thing we have to learn in order to make it. So in order to practice Buddhism, in order to practice religion, it is so important to learn, to study. Through learning, through study, then you can have a good idea how to practice. Also, Buddha Shakyamuni said, you shouldn't accept symbol in my religion because you have a really high respect for me. You should accept my religion through study, through analysis, through investigation. Finally, when you really convince yourself, then you must put in practice. So it is so important to study before we practice any kind of religion. So next few months I will teach further, I will explain the collective topic. Second, I will explain a little bit about mind and mental factors. After that, I will explain about the tenets. These three texts are so important to enter into Buddhism, enter into practice. Until now, most of us, whatever we learn, whatever we study, whatever we hear, most time we study about the external things, not really internal things. For example, so now we can understand when we have a problem, when we have a suffering, the suffering coming from external force. We know most of the suffering, most of the problems coming through external force. We never think, we never study about our inner world. Once we think about inside, how I can achieve happiness, how I can minimize inner suffering. In order to achieve inner happiness, in order to minimize inner suffering, then we have to study about the inner world. That means we have to study about the mind. What kind of minds we have? What kind of positive mind we have? What kind of negative minds we have? Once we know, okay, these minds are positive, these minds are negative, then we can understand how we can develop the positive mind, how we can reduce the negative mind. So that's why it's so important to study about mental factors, mind and mental factors. So before we study about mind and mental factors, we have to understand the basic characteristic of all phenomena, permanent or impermanent. Form, mind, nor the form, nor a mind. So today, I start little bit about the permanent and impermanent. So please everybody look at the page number, I think 53. Okay, when you look at the chart, generally, the existent or non-existent phenomena, we call, selflessness, exist or non-exist. Everything we call, according to Buddhism, we call selflessness. Nothing exists inherently. Nothing exists solidly. It's existent or non-existent. Among the existent, first we said classification of phenomena divide into two, object and subject. Object and subject. Among the object, then there's a two, right? We can divide into two different ways. Classified in terms of the way they are taken as object, classified the terms of their entity. So all the phenomena we can divide into two, object and subject, as well as we can divide into permanent and impermanent. Permanent, impermanent. Among the permanent, we can divide into two phenomena. One is we call, always, everywhere permanent. Always, everywhere permanent. Impermanent, we can divide into three: form, consciousness, nor form, nor consciousness. So, object, there's a two, right? Things and non-things. The same, permanent and impermanent. Thing and impermanent is kind of a synonym. We can call this cup is thing, this cup is impermanent. A non-thing, what do you think? Is there anything we can call it non-thing?
Thought is non-thing.
Thought is non-thing.
Concept is non-thing.
Yes. In generally, yes, we can say the thought, the concept is not thing. According to Buddhism, we can call it a thing. Thing not necessarily to like kind of the matter. So do you think all the phenomena we can divide into two different group, permanent, impermanent? Is it correct? What do you think? All the phenomena we can divide into two groups, permanent and impermanent. Do you think there's another kind of group we thought permanent and impermanent? What do you think?
Geshe, you meant, is there a thing that is not permanent and is not impermanent?
Yeah.
Outside of these two realms?
Yeah. What do you think? Yes, I think everybody agree. All the phenomena must be include permanent and impermanent. why we have to learn permanent and impermanent? Because if we don't know the characteristic of the impermanent, then for us very easy to arise all the negative emotions. All the emotions. Also, if we don't know the characteristic of impermanence, for us very easy to have a very strong attachment towards the object. For example, if I think this mobile is permanent, I can have forever, then I have a very strong attachment, very strong desire. If I know the characteristic of the mobile is impermanent, if somebody stole, if somebody break this mobile, if I break myself, for me, I don't think I have a very strong anger, because I know right at the beginning this mobile is impermanent. So also when we have very strong attachment a particular object, we never think that particular object is changing minute by minute, minute by minute, minute by minute. We thought the particular object remains beautifully forever. That's why they have very strong attachment, strong desire. When the particular object, has little bit change, then we have a little bit disappointment, sometimes we are angry. So we have to learn about impermanence. So impermanence is not just one thing. Among the impermanent, we can divide three: form, consciousness, nor form, nor the consciousness.
The last two is one thing. It's form is one.
Yeah.
Consciousness is one.
Non-form,
non-consciousness
is one.
Third one.
There are three groups. Among the impermanent, there are three groups. So,
can you give example of these three?
Yeah. So for example, think about the person. My body is a form, not a consciousness. All the negative minds or positive minds or the neutral minds, they are consciousness, not form. It's just only consciousness. The person, the human being, the being is nor form nor the consciousness. That's why when we pointed a person, we think the person is just kind of one. It's not really person.
Person is not an entity.
Just one entity. There are so many things collect together. There's a form, there's a consciousness, there's a nor form nor consciousness. So why, so it is so important to know form, mind and consciousness. Form, consciousness and nor form nor consciousness. In the reality, the form and the consciousness or the mind is contradiction. The mind cannot transform as a form, as a matter. The matter cannot transform as a consciousness. The form always, the continuous is always the form. The consciousness, the continue of the mind always continues the mind. They never, transform each other. Is clear? So, I think it is very interesting. So we can learn more in next few days. Our body, our physical body, we everybody agree, is come from our parents, right? Or we can also, you can call genes, or you can whatever, is coming from parents. But there's a big question: do my mind come from parents or not? This is big question. If my minds are not come from parents, where those come from? Clear? Yes. So then when we talk about the form or matter, the matter always consists four elements: fire, wind, earth, and wind. The mind never consists wind, fire, earth, and water. So I hope everybody is very clear. Among the impermanent, we can divide into three, right? Form, consciousness, not form, not consciousness. So my body is the form, not consciousness. All my minds, positive, negative, whatever is the mind, not form. The person, all sentient being, the time, the future, the past, the present, the tense, the time is not form, not consciousness. Time. So, among the form, we can divide into two groups: internal form and external form. Internal matter or external matter. Once you learn this kind of characteristic, then you can, whenever you perceive particular object, you never think the object is just one entity. Just one entity. It involves so many different causes and conditions. So when we talk about inner matter, so usually according to Buddhist science, we say there are 5 internal matter, 5 internal form. That means the 5 organs, right? Organs. 5 aggregates.
Faculty.
5 aggregates, 5 faculty is the internal form. Then when we talk about the external form, internal matter, there are 5. External, internal, external. It is so difficult to translate into English. When we say form, we say inner form or external form. But particularly here they use a different term. I'm not sure it's correct or not.
You meant 5 external source?
Yes. 5 external source. Yeah. Yes, they use the 5 external source. Okay. So thing and non-things, or permanent, impermanent, or permanent. Permanent, there are 2 groups, right? I say, sometimes, somewhere permanent, every time, everywhere permanent. For example, space. We call space. Space. I think there are 2 different ideas about the space. The modern science, space means just empty of this house. From here to here, this empty space. According to Buddhist philosophy, Buddhist science, this between of this 2 hands is not a space. According to modern science, according to modern English terms, space is just empty place between here and there. According to Buddhism, this between 2 hands is not space. There's when you read the textbook, you can see there's a definition of space. Space is everywhere, every time, always permanent. For example, space of this bottle, space of this bottle, it is permanent here. When I break this bottle, the empty as the bottle has gone. So empty of this bottle is permanent somewhere, sometime, not always permanent, not everywhere. Where the bottle exists, the space of the bottle exists. Where the water bottle is not exist, the space of the bottle is not exist. Generally, space is everywhere. So the space and emptiness is very similar characteristic. Without space, we cannot move, we cannot build, we cannot do anything, right? Without space. Due to space, we can sit here. Due to space, we can move, we can change things. If there is no space, we cannot do nothing. So without emptiness of the cup, the cup is not able to exist, not able to function.
Sorry, Geshe, the emptiness that he was referring to, is that the Shunyata emptiness or the system's emptiness?
It's a Shunyata emptiness. Very similar. It doesn't mean I say space emptiness, empty space. So the space is permanent everywhere, every time. The space of cup, the space of glass, the space of the house is permanent here. Something is permanent, not everywhere, every time. For example, when I break the house, the space has gone. We don't call this space of the house. Clear? Actually, my English is not really good, but please you listen very carefully.
So, Geshe, you're trying to say space equals emptiness.
Equal.
Emptiness. You're trying to equal the word emptiness and space. I'm playing with these two words. So it makes sense and don't make sense.
It's equal.
Equal.
Yeah. It doesn't mean space is emptiness, emptiness is space. So it is so important you need to know the definition of the space. According to Buddhist philosophy, according to Buddhist science, all phenomena we should have a definition. Without definition, we cannot have an argument each other. We cannot have a debate each other. So definition is very important. For example, somebody says this cup is impermanent. Why is cup permanent? Then we can say because this is the definition of impermanent. The cup has a characteristic of impermanent. This cup is not permanent because the permanent, there's a definition of permanent. So this cup doesn't have this characteristic. So according to Buddhist philosophy, Buddhist science, it's so important to learn the definition of permanent, definition of impermanent, definition of mind, definition of mental faculty, definition of mental factors. Okay, so object and subject. Object, there are two things and non-things. Among the things, there are three: matter or form is same. Matter, consciousness, not associated with form. Yeah. So another, things and non-things, right? Non-things, so Sonam is clear about the non-thing?
No, you have not given example of non-things because I give the example of times and
as a space
yes.
is a non-thing.
Okay.
Thing, according to Buddhism, the thing, the definition have to arising through causes and conditions, then we can call thing. The thing which exists without causes and conditions, we call it is non-thing, like a space.
So can I rephrase that? A thing is something that
have to be arising through causes and conditions, and we call it thing.
So a thing is something that you have a definitive of begins and ends. It is from it takes the identity of it, and that identity will cease. So there is a definitive of beginning.
Okay. Please look, see page number 366. The definition of the thing, right? That which is able to perform a function, we call thing. The definition of a thing, that which is able to perform a function. Generally, thing, condition, phenomena, impermanent phenomena, and specifically characteristic phenomena are equivalent, right? Equivalent. So now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thing and condition phenomena, impermanent phenomena, and specifically characterized phenomena are equivalent.
So thing.
Yeah. Thing. So next here the meaning of definition of the thing, that which is able to perform a function, is a follower any phenomena that perform the function of producing its own specified result.
Can you give an example?
Thing?
Yeah. How does it say that is a thing that performs a function? So what are that and what are the functions?
For example, pen and pencil. Pen able to function to write. A cup able to function for water. Function. So, according to Buddhist philosophy, the thing which is able to function, it is necessarily impermanent. The thing which is impermanent, it is necessarily able to function. It is a equivalent, synonym.
So can I say this? A thing called table, because it is table, is because it has a top that we can put things. But any formation that can function like a table that you can put things on top of it is called a table. So it can be 3 legs, it can be 4 legs, it can be wood, it can be metal, it can be anything, as long as it possess the function that you can use it as table, then the thing itself is called table. So you can take away those parts and still the same items that you had, but it's no longer called a table. So the thing table is gone. So that's why it is impermanent.
No, but even though now the table is able to function, the cup thing, right? When I break the table has gone, but the parts are still impermanent. But somehow there's not any single thing which is not able to function.
Yes.
There's not any single emotion which is not able to function. It's always function, always doing something.
And it is like water.
Yeah.
The function of water is fluid, it can flow. If you heat it, it will become hot.
Yeah.
If it's cold, it becomes frozen.
Yeah.
So that is the thing and the functions of the water as it is.
Yeah.
So like any other things.
Yeah, that's why all the impermanent phenomena always function, always do something. That's what we call this thing. Why we call these are impermanent? when we talk about impermanent, there are two different levels of impermanent. One is what we call gross level of impermanent or subtle level of impermanent. The gross level of impermanence for us very easy to understand. So for example, human being, we were born, then we remain maybe 60, 70, 80 years old, then we die. It's very gross level. The house we build, it remains look like few years or then has gone. It's very easy. The subtle level of impermanence is not easy to understand. For example, when I come, this hall yesterday, and I came today, from my perception, I can see same. The shade, the color, it looks same. In the reality, it's not always same. It's always changing. So, in the senses, or our perception, we have the five senses, eyes. When we look at the object, we can see all the same this morning and this afternoon and this evening and yesterday. But the reality, the object has already changed minute by minute, second by second. That's why we call the subtle level impermanence. Subtle. So impermanence, we should think, when we say impermanence, we shouldn't think, oh, now I'm alive, then I will die. When we talk about impermanence, we should think, all the phenomena which is arising through cause and condition is always changing, is always moving, always changing, always moving, always. They never stays just few seconds. 1 second has gone. 1 second has gone. Once you know the subtle level of impermanence, then for example, when you have an argument with someone, you have the argument few minutes has gone. But what we do, we hold he or she is my enemy in our mind. But the reality, the person who argued with you, he has gone. The words which is they used towards you has gone. Now, everything has gone. But in the world level, we think, oh, when we meet the person tomorrow, we can see that, oh, he is the person who had argued with me. But the person who had argued with you is not remain tomorrow. He has gone. So whenever we have argue with someone, whenever we have some problem with someone, we should think, yes, I had argument with the person, but the person has gone. It has changed. We never hold in our mind, he or she always my enemy. So why there is a subtle level impermanence? We know the gross level is very easy to understand, right? For example, this lip of the cup. If I hit, I can break. But why it has a subtle level of changes? Why? It's changing minute by minute. Why? What is the condition, cause and condition of the subtle level of impermanence? Anybody have any answer? Why it has subtle level impermanence? What is the causes of condition of the subtle level of impermanence? Why? For example, when we turn on the aircon, I can feel cold. I feel cold because there is icon. We can understand this icon is the cause condition of my feeling cold, right? So, what is the cause and condition of the subtle level impermanence? Anybody have any answer? So please, this color, we together here must be like a class. You can ask me a question, I can ask you a question. Just feel free, give answer, and feel free, you can ask question.
Sorry, Geshe, Geshe means that it's meant to be interactive. It's not a traditional class that you might find it in other centers where the teacher is teaching, none of us should say anything. So Geshe would like to make it a more interactive. So if you have any doubts or any idea or any thoughts, feel free to share it out so as to go along, or else the class will be only one directional, and Geshe wouldn't know that if we follow the patterns of thoughts.
Yeah.
There's no mic to pass around, so you don't have to feel shy. Right. So anybody have any thoughts about what are the subtle conditions for the impermanence?
Yeah. What's the causes and condition of the subtle impermanent?
It looks like times, you see. Every cause and condition has its cause and condition, and cause and condition is not a big cause and condition, it's a small little cause and condition. Like the cup itself, it has color, it has metal, it has you put together, it will decay. So all little small conditions, and every cause and condition, when it arises, the condition ripens, it becomes the result, and it gives rise to the next one and to the next one. So it forms a continuum of a chain of cause and effect. So that are the subtle change, the impermanent.
Why there is a very subtle changes?
Why is subtle change?
Because orthomic bonding is always in movement.
Movement.
The orthomic bonding of the cup is always in movement.
Okay.
So movement is change. So you keep changing and changing and changing, you never stay still.
Yeah. I think both of you have a good answer and good idea. But the cup arising naturally is arising as a impermanent.
Sorry, is it permanent or impermanent?
Impermanent.
Okay.
Arising, their nature is impermanent. Also, according to like a modern science, special quantum physics, they thought this cup has a billions of atoms put together. The atom is moving all the time. It is same with Buddhism. We call the cup doesn't need any second condition, which is it can be. The cup doesn't need second condition. Be like as a subtle impermanent. The gross impermanent, we need a second condition. We just hit by.
Okay.
The subtle level impermanent, it doesn't need any second condition. The cause which is arising, the cause which is produce the thing, the cause is the cause of the subtle impermanent. Understand?
Right.
The thing which is produced by causes condition, the causes and condition itself is the causes of condition of the subtle impermanent.
For example, you mean that this cup is created by impermanent thing like a person. That cup is not permanent.
Yeah, this cup is produced by causes and condition. The cup is produced by their own causes condition. The causes and condition itself is the causes of condition of the subtle impermanent.
So that means that I make this cup, I'm the causes and condition that is impermanent.
Yeah.
I'm the cause of this impermanence.
Yeah.
The second part would
No. Let's say when we talk about causes and conditions, when we say primary cause and secondary cause. Primary cause and secondary cause. So if you make this cup, you are the secondary cause, not the primary cause. Secondary cause and primary cause, right? For example, when we make a golden ring, the piece of gold is the primary cause. The person who make it, the tools, the person are the secondary cause, not the primary cause. So all the impermanent phenomena has two different causes. One is the primary cause, one is secondary cause. So, so when we talk about impermanent, we shouldn't think always, arising and remains for maybe few years, few months, few seconds, few days, then has gone. We should think impermanent means all the phenomena which is arising through cause and condition is always moving towards for decay, moving towards decay. Yeah, and always moving towards the end.
Right.
But his end for the moment, but there's a big question. All the phenomena, if there's an ending, there's an end, or all phenomena or not. If there's an end. But we Buddhists accept there's no beginning point. There's no any beginning point. The human being, the body, the table, the cup, there is not any beginning point. But there's a big question if there's an ending point or not. For example, now this is my like a finger. When I died, so it's burned in the fire, it became ashes, dust. When somebody poured the dust on the ground, maybe it becomes some other thing. We know, it's very clear in the Buddhist text, it's very clear in the Buddha teaching that there is not any beginning point, like a form or consciousness, whatever, there is no beginning point. If somebody says there is a beginning point, it started from here, it's coming from this point, then there's only two options. There's only two options in mind, not three. One, the things arising without cause and condition, or the thing produced by like a creator. There's only two options. If there's a beginning point, there's two options. So according to Buddhist philosophy, according to Buddhist science, there's no beginning point. If say, yes, there's a beginning point, the thing is coming without cause and condition, so we say it is impossible to exist without cause and condition. For example, when we need like a boil water, we need to heat the water, we need a fire, we need electricity, whatever, we need something, otherwise we cannot make a hot water, right? At this moment, it is same in the past 100 or millions years ago, all the things they need cause and condition. Without cause and condition, nothing can be happen. So, according to Buddhism, Buddhist philosophy, we don't accept there's a creator which is create all the phenomena since this time. There's no beginning point. But this big question still remains: if there's an ending time, there's an end or not. What do you think? Everybody going to agree there's no beginning point, or somebody say yes, there's a beginning point, there's a beginning time? What do you think?
If there's no beginning, then how to have ending? If there's no beginning, it's possible to have ending. Just go and go. If there's no beginning, how to have ending?
Yes, it's going along.
Yeah, how to have beginning, how to have ending?
For example, the matter thing, I think is going round and round. For example, this is table is coming from wood. The wood coming from the very subtle atom. The atom coming from different atom is go on. But then how we can, according to Buddhism, we always wish to achieve Buddhahood, enlightenment. How is it possible? It doesn't mean, my life is end when we achieve Buddhahood. When we become Buddha, it is my life, end of my life. Not like this. But according to what do you call? Can we use Hinayana?
Hinayana, yes.
Theravada. Theravada. According to Theravada tradition, yes, Buddha Shakyamuni achieved Buddhahood in the Bodh Gaya. When he passed away, they accept there was the end of the life of the Buddha Shakyamuni. End. But according to Mahayana tradition or like a Sanskrit tradition, it is when someone achieves Buddhahood and after they pass away, we don't accept this end of the life. The life will be continuous. But it remains continuously, but very blissfully, not really suffering. It remains with the happiness.
But come back to your original questions about there's no beginning and there's no end. The point over here is you did not define what is beginning and what is end. For example, a cup, to be a cup, it needs to function as a cup. So before this, it's just a clay or mud.
Clay or mud or dust.
It does not possess the function of the cup.
Yeah, it possesses function, but not possess function as a cup.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So for a cup, there is definitely a beginning. It is the moment when that thing possess the function as a cup.
Yeah. But the cup has beginning as a cup.
Yes.
But it doesn't have a beginning point. For example, right now I'm a human being. Since I born as a like a human being, it is just my human being beginning point. It's this life, but it's not my beginning point.
Exactly. So your point is to resume a function, it needs its components and assemble, come together, the conditions that make it that, and then it resumes that function as this thing, and this it will transform to other and that different functions. So the entire continuum in terms of this is the subtler impermanence that without observations you are not able to see it, because in the glosser level we can see that the functions and change of the functions, we are not able to identify the components and the causes of it, and I lost my
So anyway, I think now everybody really think very carefully, deeply, should put in a thought if there is a beginning point or not. Maybe this is the first. Maybe this is the first time we will be like a human being. Maybe this is the first time we have a feeling, we have happiness, we have a suffering. Maybe there is no previous life, maybe there is no next life. So according to it is one book, according to Nalanda tradition, whatever we accept, we must accept through logic, through reasoning, through valid reasoning. We don't say, oh, I accept this because the Buddha Shakyamuni says so. Because I accept this because my teacher said. We must use a lot of logic and reasoning, then we must accept. When we accept through logic and reasoning, whatever we accept is very stable. Very stable. So that's why Buddha Shakyamuni said, without logic and reasoning, you shouldn't accept anything. Or something totally against, right? Against with the logic and reasoning, we should, reject it. But whatever Buddha taught in the teaching, we shouldn't think, oh, everything is, I must accept because Buddha said so. It's like a Buddha Shakyamuni is like a very wise doctor. Very wise doctor. When the doctor meets a patient, the patient has a jaundice problem. Jaundice. Not able to eat like oily food. The Buddha said, you shouldn't eat oily food. And he gave a lot of medicine. After 1 month, and Buddha Shakyamuni said, oh, you must eat oily food. There's two different words, right? First he said, don't eat oily food. Second he said, eat oily food. It depends on the patient condition. When Buddha Shakyamuni gave a teaching, he gave so many different kinds of teaching, different time, different teaching. The teaching is not depends on him, it depends on the disciple. Because somebody asks, if there's a somebody asks, is there a beginning point or not? He says, yes, there's a beginning point. But we shouldn't accept this like a literal meaning. So my main point is here. So just everybody think and put really deep thing if there's a beginning point or not, there's an ending point or not, and also think about what is the causes and condition of the subtle impermanence. What is the causes and condition of the subtle impermanence? I said to you why it is so important to learn the subtle level impermanence, because when we perceive anything, we perceive as a permanent, right?
Yes.
For example, when we see beautiful object in the shop, we have very strong kind of attachment, desire of the object, and we come back tomorrow, we can see the object is same as yesterday. So due to lot of misunderstanding about the phenomena, then we have a lot of negative thoughts and emotion. Once we have a lot of negative thoughts and emotion, then we have a lot of emotional problems. There's not any person in Singapore, there's not any one person in the world who not really facing the emotional problem, the mental problem. The mental problem here not referring kind of like a mad. It's like anger, attachment, desire, ignorance. So today my main point is we should understand the definition of impermanent. We should think about the causes of condition of the subtle impermanent. The number first, we should think about there's a beginning point or not, there's an ending point or not. So there's a three things, everybody please bring answer tomorrow. Next lesson. What is it now?
8:30, we still have half an hour.
Okay, so now I can just leave for question answer. Anybody has any question? Yes?
Just like you were saying that the primary causes for the impermanence. So change itself is the primary cause for subtle impermanence.
Sorry?
Change itself is subtle impermanence for the cup.
Maybe you need to use the mic. So that
change itself is a subtle impermanence.
Yeah. No. Changing, there's two different level of changing. Right? One is gross level of changing, one is the subtle level of changing. So my question is, what is the causes or condition of the subtle level of changing? So my answer, I said, the cause and condition of the cup is the cause of the condition of the subtle level impermanence. Understand? That means the causes and condition of the cup, produce of the cup also is is decay of the cup. There's not the secondary cause of the subtle level impermanence. There's no secondary cause. There's not second cause which is makes cup is subtle level impermanence.
So usually in a very simple word, it says that the reason why it is that is the reason why it is not going to be that. So the reason is being a cup, the cause for it being a cup, also responsible for it to not be a cup.
Yeah, that's the note.
That is the subtle impermanence.
Yeah, cause of the subtle level impermanence.
Any thoughts?
Any thoughts?
Going right back to the beginning, you said there was permanent and impermanent. Now I thought everything was impermanent and there was no permanent. So what is actually permanent?
Yeah, really good question. Personally, I have been thinking about it, how we can say this or that is permanent. For example, the cup is impermanent. When I break the cup, the empty of the cup has gone, no more there. So according to Buddhism, yes, Buddhist philosophy, according to Buddhism, we say the space. Space is permanent. But there's a two different view of space. View from the modern science, view from the Buddhist science. According to Buddhist science, I said between this wall and this wall, there's a empty. This is not space. But according to modern science, yes, we call this a space between two things. So yes, I refer to say, permanent. When you say which one you really pose it as permanent, I said the space and emptiness. Emptiness of the cup, emptiness. But it is so difficult to understand emptiness of the bottle is permanent. When I break the bottle, there is no more bottle. At the same time, the emptiness of the bottle is not remain. It's at home. Then why we call that this glass is impermanent? The emptiness of this bottle is impermanent. Emptiness of the bottle is permanent. Why we call? When the bottle exists, the emptiness exists. When the bottle has gone, the emptiness has gone. Why we call it permanent, impermanent? Because the bottle is arising through causes condition. The emptiness is not arising through causes condition. This is what we call it permanent.
So permanent emptiness of the bottle.
Yeah. Emptiness of the bottle is permanent. Bottle is impermanent.
So I can look at it the other way around.
Yeah. So, no question? And also, please, I think today we have quite a number of people come here. You shouldn't think this kind of study is useless. Not really. Because when you really want to build a house, you are always looking, good quality of the matter. So in order to have a good practice, in order to have a good meditation, first you have to learn very basic thing. Also in the future, when you read a book, for you very easy to understand, permanent, impermanent, secondary cause, primary cause, condition, unconditioned, and form, aggregate, very easy. Otherwise, when you are listening to from someone, when you are reading a lot of books, then you have a lot of confusion because you don't have the basic idea about the phenomena.
So Kishore, can you summarize for us? Because it's kind of like first lesson, and then most of us are first time to encounter this, so it would be best that you can summarize for us.
Yeah. Okay. So generally, according to Buddhist philosophy, we say exist or not exist are everything we name selflessness. Selflessness. That means nothing exists inherently, nothing exists kind of solidly. Everything, existent or non-existent is we call selflessness. Among the selflessness, we can divide two groups, two categories, existent and non-existent. Among the existent things, we can divide into two, permanent and impermanent. two groups. I said, sometime, somewhere permanent, everywhere, all the time permanent. The space is permanent all the time, everywhere. The space of the cup, the space of the bottle is sometime, somewhere permanent. Not all the time, not everywhere. We finish permanent. Impermanent, we can divide into the object, subject. One way, object, subject. Another way, we can say, among the impermanent, form, consciousness, nor form, nor consciousness. Among the form, or among the matter, we can divide into two, inner matter or outer matter. Inner, there are five aggregates. Is inner form. And outer form, there are five sources. Okay, so next lesson we learn a little bit more about the form, then we move into the consciousness. Consciousness is more little complicated, is more important. So we just finish here and we recite the homework. The homework. I said homework. I said three things. What is the causes and condition of the subtle impermanent? If there is a beginning point or not, if there is an ending point or not. Because when you put a really deep thought of the beginning point, then you need to think about yourself. Oh, right now I'm 40 years old, then 10 years old, then 2 years old, then 1 year old, then 6 months in the mother womb, then 1 week in the mother womb. What I was before 1 week, that's one, the split, like what we call the concept time, right? Concept time. So what I was look like before the concept time. It was the first time I come in the world, or what was the before the concept time? What should think this way. The ending, say, okay, right now I'm a human being. When I die, dead, my body, maybe burn in the fire, or maybe put in the ground, or put in the fire. I know my body go this way. Think about the mind. Oh, when if somebody burn my body, at the same time somebody burn my mind, my consciousness. So you have a kind of homework, like three, right? Three homework: beginning, ending, and causes condition of the subtle level. So thank you so much. So I hope you will come with a good homework. So we can decide
page 9, prayers after teaching. It's actually page 10, dedication prayers. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of a Guru Buddha and lead all sentient beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the supreme jewel bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow, and where it has risen, may it not diminish, but increase evermore. Just as the great Manjushri and Samanta Brother too realize things as they are, also I dedicate all these merits in the best way that I may follow their perfect example. I dedicate all these fruits of virtue with the dedication praise as heart, by the victorious one thus gone of the 3 times, so that I might perform the noble Bodhisattva deed. In the land encircled by a snow mountain, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful Chenrindik and Zinjatso, please remain until samsara ends.
just ending of the samsara.
Thank you, everybody, and have a good night. We shall see you on Saturday, and the time is 3 p.m.